Sometimes it's the little things in life that count. Small changes can make a big difference. I'm always looking for things I can add to my AR that'll make a big difference in the shooting experience. Generally speaking, those things end up being big things, big purchases that I'm really hesitant about actually making. For me, it's usually price that ends up making me decide against certain upgrades. I look at it and I ask myself, is the price really worth what's being added in performance and usability? That's why I've switched over to red dots with most of my weapons. Sure, it's a bit of an investment, but what it adds is definitely worth more than the price of the optic is. So these days I'm just used to shooting with red dots. With a dot, I find I can get on target faster and my follow-up shots are definitely more accurate. The problem is, now that I'm used to using a dot, when I switch over to iron sights, I find that it's slow and it's a bit of a struggle compared to my primary. Hopefully today we're going to fix that, but first, hit that subscribe button and the bell so that you get notifications with all new videos. Right now we have the ATF, we have the left, we have all big tech, including YouTube, going hard against the 2A community. One of the ways that we fight this is by banding together and showing companies like YouTube that we stand side by side as a community. Every like, every comment, every subscription, every share, it all goes together to show companies like YouTube that we aren't going anywhere. That goes for all channels making gun content, not just mine. The bigger our community is, the more support that we show each other, the harder it is for companies like YouTube to suppress our voice. Alright, so your standard iron sights are going to be black on black, absolutely no contrast. Don't even waste your time with ridiculous night sights. That's a topic that I'll revisit soon. So now that I've trained myself to pull up my weapon and aim using a red dot, if there's a situation where I have to switch over to my 45-degree backup iron sights, there's just a slight moment of hesitation. A moment where my brain is searching for a dot before I finally get with it, line up my iron sights, and take a shot. If I'm using irons as my primary, like I am on the 16-inch Freedom 5.56 build, I have moments where I struggle. Again, no contrast. Black rear sights, black front sights. This can be an issue, especially if I'm engaging a target that's wearing black or the target itself has a dark background or backdrop behind it. It's just not an optimal situation. A few months ago, I installed a new front sight on the PTR 9CT from a company called Blitzkrieg. I'll leave a link below for that video as well as a link to the new sight that I picked up for the AR. After trying out the front sight for the PTR, I knew I absolutely had to order one for the AR. So here it is. It's small, it's simple. You unscrew your old front sight post, you screw this one back in, and you're done. They do make several styles of these, and what I really wanted was the chevron style, just like the one that I put on the PTR. Unfortunately, when I went to order, they were completely out of stock on those. I think when I find them back in stock, I'll go ahead and order the chevron style for the AR pistol. Now, they do have two colors. They have this luminescent yellow and the orange. I prefer the orange because it's closer to what I'm used to looking for with my red dots. Next, I had two different styles to choose from. One of those styles was more squared off. The one that I ended up ordering was more pointed. The pointed one seemed a little bit closer to what I was looking for with that chevron style, so that's the one I ended up ordering. I figured with a pointed front sight I'd get a little bit more precision with aiming, so I guess we'll see how that goes. As a side note, you will need one of these AR front sight adjustment tools. If you don't have one, I'll leave a link down below so that you can go ahead and add one to your cart along with the Blitzkrieg front sight. That way, when the front sight comes in, you're going to be ready to go instead of having to double back and order a sight tool. So this is the front sight for the Freedom 5.56, and just to make life a little bit easier, I just went ahead and pulled it off of the gun. If you've never adjusted one of these sights, it's pretty simple. There is a very small pin and spring in there that holds it in place. This tool presses down in there, you give it a few turns, and then what happens is that front sight post just unscrews. Just comes right out. Pretty simple. Make sure you don't lose the pin and spring. Take the new one, screw it down in there, and you're done. One of the things that I'm going to recommend that you do, if you have a set of calipers, get a measurement of height of your old sight post so that when you install the new sight post, you can get it down to roughly the same height as the old one. If it's too low, if it's too high as compared to the old sight post, it's going to throw you off a little bit when you go out and test it. So take a measurement, get it down to the same height, and that's going to make the zeroing process a little bit faster. Okay, so here is the finished product. I don't know how well that's going to come through, but all in all, I'm pretty impressed with the products that Blitzkrieg makes. That orange is just crazy easy to see. This front sight post is literally the best thing that you could ever do for your AR that only costs 20 bucks. That high-vis orange is amazing. It really feels like I'm looking at my red dot, except I'm not. As far as visibility goes, it's a lot like the fiber optic front sight posts that a lot of people are running on their pistols. As far as the contrast, it doesn't matter what color your target is. It doesn't matter what color is behind your target. That orange just really pops out at you. Normally when I try something new, I like to get some time behind it before I even consider making a video. That way I can point out the pros, I can point out the cons, I can celebrate it, I can bash it, I can let you guys know all the good and bad points. Then you can turn around and have an informed decision on whether or not you should spend your hard-earned money. This situation is just a little bit different because I did put one of these sights on my PTR. I think so far as round count, I put roughly 800 rounds through the PTR since installing the new front sight post. The sight on the PTR, I couldn't be more happy with it. I've always liked the iron sights on the MP5 platform, and so for me, it's really nice to be able to use those iron sights and easily, clearly, and quickly acquire that front sight when I'm pulling up on target. The front sight post that Blitzkrieg has designed for the AR, it's the same craftsmanship, same color, everything about it just feels the same as the one that I put on the PTR. So I already know how it's going to function. There's going to be no surprises. Now I just have to get my hands on the Chevron style for the AR pistol. Currently, it's December in the Pacific Northwest. It's cold, it's wet, it's cold, and did I mention that it's wet? So right now I really don't feel like going out and doing any outdoor shooting. I'm not a big fan of doing indoor shooting footage. It never looks right. I'm hoping we get some clear weather here in the next couple weeks. It's Pacific Northwest, so I doubt that's going to happen. But I am going to take this thing out very soon and get a little live fire testing through it. I'm not going to have any surprises. I already know that it's going to be great. So as we all know, there are literally millions of ARs in the hands of the American people. A statistic that makes me very proud to be an American. That being said, each and every one of those ARs should have one of the Blitzkrieg sight posts on it, whether you're using a red dot system or a magnified optic. If you're using some sort of iron as a backup sight or primary sight, it really doesn't matter. Your iron sights definitely need this sight system on it. This is an inexpensive upgrade that gives you a lot more practical use than what you're paying for.